Hi, my name is Lindsay Burns, and I'm the Marketing Director with DexSplicity. DexSplicity is a combination of dexterity and simplicity. Dexterity meaning nimble and the ability to change as quickly as needed, and simplicity the opposite of complexity. DexSplicity is a powerful Excel reporting tool simplified for the business user. First, let me start with a little bit of history of our company. We're headquartered in Denver, Colorado, and the founders of DexSplicity have worked with Excel-based reporting for over 20 years. From FRX Software, which eventually became part of Microsoft, to Rivet and Adaptive Insights with Adaptive Office Connect. They've learned a lot from working on these products. They learned what they should do and what they shouldn't do when building future products. They've made their mistakes and they've learned from them to create a reporting solution like DexSplicity. Users have a love-hate relationship with Excel. They love it because it's flexible, they know it, it's free, and they have hundreds of reports created in their library from Excel. But they hate it because it's very time-consuming, it's manual, it's error-prone with pound-ref errors, and they have a dependence. What I mean by this is that they're dependent on someone who created these reports with these complex formulas. That person is the only one who knows exactly how that report works. So if that person leaves, then the company basically has to recreate the same time-consuming reports. So what if you could combine data from multiple sources into one report and combine multiple Excel tables? What if you could say goodbye to complicated, complex formulas forever, including VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs? What if you could make your Excel reports interactive in which the end user can slice and dice the data? What if you could customize your drill down and have multiple drill down paths with formatting? What if you could burst one report into hundreds instead of having to manually copy and paste each sheet? And finally, what if you could update your Excel reports in minutes without having to reformat and in single clicks? Well, with DexSplicity, you can. We've seen that the #1 feature in every product out there is being able to export to CSV files or export to Excel. Users are then given these reports to go report on, which is still not very easy. This is where DexSplicity comes in. We've developed a drag-and-drop Excel-based report writer that takes the data out of Excel files and allows you to create reports that truly make sense. You can then refresh in a single click. So now let me bring you to the product. This is a table that you would typically get with an export from your system. And I'm going to show you the old way of reporting just to remind you of the pains of Excel. We're going to create this report in DexSplicity, but we're also going to just show you how we would create it with formulas. Now we have our contractors here on our rows, and we have our business types in our columns. We would need to create a formula to get the count of jobs into these cells here. By the time you're done thinking about what type of formula you would get to reference all of these worksheets, in DexSplicity, I could have already created the report. But let me just show you what a formula would look like for this. So this is a pretty complex and complicated formula. Let's say you've written it and you got it down. You drag it down to copy it to the other cells, and it doesn't work. So this is where users have to go and troubleshoot and see why their formulas have not worked. In this case, we forgot the references, so we have to put $signs up in our H's so that when it copies down, it'll work. It looks like it worked, but in actuality, you could have hidden mistakes that you may not even catch. And these are the worst kind of mistakes because you may not catch them, you may not know that they're there, and they could affect your data. Well, let's just pretend this is right, and we copy and paste this to our nonprofit section, and it doesn't work again. This is where we have to start troubleshooting again and see why this isn't working. There's just so many errors that could happen. Even if we change this and we wanted to say that commercial is too long and we change it to com, all of our formulas are now messed up. There's just a myriad of problems that could exist when using complex formulas in Excel. Now let me show you how we can create this same report really easy in DexSplicity. We're going to come back to our Excel export, and I want you to notice here that this is our data sources task pane. This is where all of this metadata is housed into nice hierarchy form. And anything that is formatted as a general field like contractor, will show up as a text field in your task pane. So we have our contractors right there. Anything that is a number will show up as a value in the task pane, and anything that is formatted as a date will also show up as a date. Here we have completion date. So let's go to our blank worksheet. We're gonna call this our DexSplicity report. To create the same report that we created in the old way, all we have to do is highlight a row, open up our contractors in our task pane, select all, and drag it on. We don't have to manually type all of these contractors, it'll do it for us. Now this is asking us if we want to apply these selected items to their own row or if we want all of their data to be in row 6. Since we're trying to mirror the old way of reporting that we had, we're going to have them all in their own row. So we select yes. They're added in there pretty simply. And now we come up to our column B. We're going to highlight it and open up our business type, select all, and drag it on. This is again asking us if we want all of our business type data to be in column B or if we want them to be separated out by commercial, nonprofit, and residential. In this case, we want all jobs in column B, so we're going to select no. But we also want them to be separated, so we're going to do the same process and drag it on and instead select yes so that we have commercial in column C, nonprofit in column D, and residential in column E. Now in our old way of reporting, remember we were trying to think of a formula to get the count of jobs in here. But with DexSplicity, all you have to do is click Query Sheet and all of our data is in there. There's no formulas, there's no thinking really, you just have to query the sheet. What's also nice about DexSplicity is that since this is in a hierarchy, you can see data errors that might exist. For example, this blue skies, there's 2 different spellings of blue skies, but they're the same contractor. Now you could go back into your system and you could change that right away, or you could change it right on DexSplicity. We're going to change it right on DexSplicity. We're going to highlight our row 6 again, select our blue skies with a Y, drag it on. Now this is asking us if we want to append or replace. We want to append because we want both blue skies to be in the same row. We don't want them to be 2 separate contractors because they are the same contractor. So we're going to select append. Now when we hit query sheet, this number is now going to change to 57 because it's adding the 3 from the blue skies with a Y. This will change to 35, 15, and 7. So we query the sheet and those are all updated. Now we can delete this blue skies with a Y because we don't need them. They are already added into our correct spelling of blue skies up above with an I. So we select D or delete. And notice there's no pound ref errors because we haven't used any formulas and we haven't referenced anything. So that's how we can append those. Now we've just created that same report in a matter of seconds, while in the old way we'd still probably be troubleshooting the first formula that we had wrong, or even thinking of this formula of how to get the count of jobs into this Excel sheet. But now we can take this even further. This is showing us the count of jobs for all time. If we wanted to add a date filter on this, we could do that pretty easily. All we have to do is come over and highlight where we want the date filter to be added on, and come to our dates over here in our data sources task pane. We open up our completion date. We have 2 dates. We have calendar dates and context dates. The difference between this is a calendar date will be very static. It won't change when you're rolling forward your report based on this report date picker, which I'll show you. And we have context dates, which makes the report very interactive. So we're going to use context dates, and we're going to filter this data based on the previous 90 days. So we select the last 90 days and drag it onto our grid. We then query the sheet, and it's now showing us the previous 90 days of the count of jobs based on June 30th. So it's showing us the previous 90 days before June 30th. Now if we change this, all we have to do is select this button and roll forward. We're going to change it to August 31st. We select update, and our numbers all change very easily. Now it's showing us the previous 90 days based on August 31st, 2015. Now we can take this report even a step further and add a slicer. How a slicer differs from a filter is a slicer allows the end user to go and change the data very interactively on the report, whereas a filter with these all jobs, commercial, nonprofit, residential, will stay very static. So we're going to filter this, we're going to slice this data based on work type. So we come over here to our data sources task pane, open up our work type. You can select one or as many as you want of these work types. But we're going to come up to our slicer, create new. I'm going to name it demo work type just so we know what slicer we created for this demo. Select create. And now if we scroll all the way down on the data sources task pane, we have all our slicers here. I've created other slicers, but we're going to just use our demo work type slicer that we just made. So you can drag it onto your grid. You can select individual cells. You can select one column, two columns, as many as you want. But in this case, I'm going to select all of our columns. Check mark our demo work type slicer and drag it on. And then query the sheet. Now this is showing us the count of jobs for the previous 90 days and for our slicer that we created as curbing. If we wanted to change our slicer, we just come up to our DexSplicity ribbon, select demo work type, and we can add in fountains, landscape, and pavement, query the sheet, and notice how it changes this very easily. We can take out curbing if we want and query the sheet, and it'll also change that. Now if we want to see what data is being shown in this cell, we can select review markup and select the cell we want to see. So now this is showing us that in this specific cell, we have both blue sky spelling with an I and with a Y. We have all three business types, commercial, nonprofit, and residential. Our completion date is the last 90 days, and we have our slicer in here, which is fountains, landscape, and pavement. We can also take this a step further and see a more complete picture of the data with our drill down. And we can drill down by customer. And now this is just showing us that we have our work type here, our landscape and fountains. That's the slicer we had on there. We have our contractor. We have both spellings in there. The status is completed. Our completion date, the last 90 days, showing us here that we have the previous 90 days, our revenues, and our profits. Now if we come back to our DexSplicity report, we can take this report even a step further. We can add in, if we want, count of jobs, but we also want to see revenue and average revenue. To do this, all we have to do is highlight our columns that we want to copy, select copy row and column, and highlight the column where we want it to be pasted to, and paste again. And now we're going to make this one right here, we're going to make this our revenue, and we're going to make this our average revenue. To do this, we just highlight the column that we want to be our revenue. We're going to come to our revenue, select sum, and drag it onto the grid. And now we're going to highlight these columns over here that we want to be our average revenue. Select average and drag it on. And now we're going to query the sheet. And now we have our revenue and our average revenue. And we can just leverage basic Excel functionality to change these numbers to make them look better for our report. So we come over to our Home tab. We're going to add in some commas and take away a few decimal points. And we can also add in a quick title here, just so we know that this is our revenue, that this one is our average revenue, and this is our count of jobs. And we're just using basic Excel functionality for that. Now, another feature in DexSplicity is called display. We could change these numbers if we didn't want them to be as big as they are right now. We can come up to display and select round to. Right now it's rounded to nothing, but we can select any type we want. If we want it to be whole numbers, hundreds, thousands, hundred thousands, etc. In this case, I'm going to select thousands and update. And notice that these numbers changed, but these ones didn't because these are already small numbers. Now, If you didn't want to see all of these zeros that they have in these rows with no data, you could in normal Excel go and hide these rows, but the problem with that is that you may not know what rows you've hidden, so you may lose data if you ended up changing your report later on. DexSplicity has made this really simple. You again come up to display, and it's showing us that we could suppress our rows with no data, or we could suppress columns with no data. Right now they're both off, but I'm going to turn suppress rows with no data on. Query the sheet, and it gives us a better looking report. And now if the data did change again, it would easily show us that all of these rows would come back in with the data. So I'm going to query the sheet and take out a few so that we can see that those rows will hide once the data is not there. But if we added the data back in, it'll bring those all back. So if you're looking at this and you're going, my end user may not know what what slicer is being shown, what is actually being shown on this, what we can do is add in a label. What you do here is you type in work type, because our slicer was based on work type. And then you can come down into the label section on the data sources task pane and open it up with text. And we're going to select work type because that was what our slicer was created on, drag it on, and query the sheet. Now it shows us what slicer is being shown. We have pavement, rock walls, landscape, fountains, and curbing. If we change our slicer and we take out fountains and landscapes and query the sheet, it changes all of our data, but it also changes our label, curbing, pavement, and rock walls. If we took out all those and we just had curbing, again, it would change the label and change all of the data. So I'm going to leave a few in there. And I'm going to delete these rows because I want to make our report look a little nicer. We could also add in some simple charts, again, leveraging Excel functionality. We can highlight what we want to create a chart on, select Insert, come to Recommended Charts, and I'm going to choose this chart. Now this chart looks a little skewed because we have internal data in here which skews the data, so we can just come up here and select data. We're going to take out the internal and take out all jobs so that our graph looks a little nicer. And now our graph looks nice. We have work type in there, fountains, curbing, and landscape. We can also add in a simple formula, and we can add in totals here. And just by using Excel functionality, we're going to use auto sum, and it shows us now the total of our count of jobs. And we can also drag it on and see all of our average revenue totals and our sum of our revenue totals. I could go back and I could reformat these numbers, but I'm just going to leave them there for now. Now I'm going to show you one of DexSplicity customers' favorite features. This is the Publish feature. What's nice about the Publish feature is if you wanted to create a report for each of these work types, all 5 of them, you could easily do that without having to go down here and copy and paste a sheet and then take out data and move data around. So what we do is we come up to Publish, we select Create New. We're going to give it the name of demo so we know which one we created, and I'm also going to give it the prefix of demo. Your slicers that you've created will show up here. So in this case, we've only created a work type slicer, but you would have, if you had it sliced on states, you would see the states up here. Now it's going to create a report for each of these work types: curbing, fountains, landscape, pavement, and rock walls. Now this might not seem like it'd be very useful for 5 sheets, but imagine if you had all the states on there too. It could create a report for Arizona curbing, Arizona fountains, Arizona landscape, etc., and that for each state. So we'd have over 100 sheets. With Publish, you can also enable the drill down. So any drill downs that you've created, you could also use in the Publish sheets. And you can save it so that if you had to come back to it, it's already saved all of your clicking. You don't have to redo that. So we're going to select Publish, and notice it's publishing sheets up here. And if we come back to our reports, we come all the way to the end. It's showing us that we created reports down here, demo curbing. So it's showing us we have a report for curbing, we have a separate report for fountains, a separate report for landscaping, pavement, and rock walls. Now, if we're looking at this and I'm saying, okay, I want to reformat this. I want maybe this rock walls to be bolded. I want this count of jobs to have some color. I just want it to look a little bit nicer. I can come back to my original report, which was Dex Way, and I can format this. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to bold this. I'm going to make this colored, just adding a few different aspects to it. I can come back up to our DexSplicity ribbon, select Publish, and select our one that we saved, Demo, and I'm just going to hit Publish again. It's going to override those old sheets that we had and bring them to the end again. So let's see if our formatting changed in our new sheets. It did. So if you had to change one little thing, you could just republish. It overrides these old ones, and now we have all of our new ones with all of our new formatting. Now if we come back to our original report, I'm going to show you drill down. You can drill down on as many cells as you want or as few cells as you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill down on blue skies, all of these, all jobs residential, which there's only one. So actually I'm going to do it on internal. I'm going to use the customer by work type, and it's showing us that we have our rock walls customers, our project managers, who our contractor is, our completion date, our revenues, etc. It's just giving us a more complete picture of the data. And you can create any type of drill down you want to. So let's see the same data with a different type of drill down. So now let's select this data and do it customer by state and project manager. The same data, but seeing it in a different way. Now it's doing it by state. It has all of our completion dates, our revenue, our actual revenue and profit. And again, you can create as many drill down paths as you want to. So if we come back to our report, I'm going to show you some of the different types of reports that you could create with DexSplicity. One is a revenue by state. You have your contractors here, your time frame completed, work types, you have some conditional formatting, nice looking charts. You could create any type of report you want. Even revenue by contractor, this is now showing us the revenue by each of the contractors, and we have our states here, and then our contractors on this sheet right here. We again have our conditional formatting and our nice looking charts. You can create statements if you want. We have all of our customers here, their work types, the status, the proposal date, completion date, contractor revenue, etc. Now in this demo, I've shown you how DexSplicity could create complex reports, but simply by using different slicers, different display options, how you can see a complete picture of the data with the drill down, how you can see what each cell is made up of, and how you can publish many sheets. I want to thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, you can email us at info@dexsplicity.com or email me directly at lindsay@dexsplicity.com. Again, thank you for your time and have a great day.